and welcome to this DraftKings preview video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Premier League games that are happening on the 16th of July. All 4 games, all the action. So we've got Leicester versus Sheffield United, we've got Everton versus Aston Villa, Crystal Palace versus Manchester United, and Southampton versus Brighton. If you are new around here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. And without further ado, let's go straight into this. So the first game that we will be discussing is the Everton versus Aston Villa. Now, as always with DraftKings, we're going to be looking at the set piece takers. So Everton, your main man here really is Luca Dean. Obviously, if Sigurdsson does start, he can get on the set pieces as well. We can see Sigurdsson, he may be a little bit cheaper just because he hasn't really been getting many starts, and his goal scoring record this year has been really poor. However, if he does start, could get on some set pieces, but the main man for set pieces is Luca Dean. We also see Gomez maybe pop up with a couple of them sort of deep lying set pieces, but Luca Dean on most of the corners. Going forward for Everton, we see the likes of Richarlison, the likes of Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin recently been very poor in front of goal. I don't think he's actually scored since the restart of the Premier League after obviously we had that massive break. Richarlison has been playing very well, and I do like the idea of maybe a Richarlison captain, or at least getting Richarlison into your side. He has quite a good floor and he has been scoring of late. Calvert-Lewin, not the greatest floor, and only really does well when he scores, and he's not been scoring. So definitely one to maybe dodge if you don't think he's going to score in this game, and record shows he probably won't score because he hasn't had the greatest of form recently. So for Aston Villa, set piece taking, we're looking at the likes of Jack Grealish, McGinn, Hourihane. If Hourihane does start, he basically takes all set pieces. He's got the most chances created by far from set pieces of any other Aston Villa player. So if Hourihane is on the pitch, he will be on them set pieces, pretty much all of them as well. So maybe even consider captaining him, as Aston Villa really will want to win this game. They're fighting for relegation at the minute. They're 4 points behind Watford down at the bottom, and they need to win this game. So I expect it to be a little bit scrappy from Aston Villa. Everton, they're not really playing for very much at the minute. They're only really playing for a bit of pride and maybe to tick up a couple more places in the Premier League as you get more prize money. But other than that, Everton don't have too much to play for, and we've seen them being quite lethargic over the past few weeks. That being said, everything in their attack basically does go through Luca Dean on that left wing side, so you can see here whipping in plenty of crosses, a very good captaincy option there. Also, Everton haven't really been at their best defensively lately. We saw Yerry Mina come off in the last game injured, so I don't think they'll be at their best defensively, so that could leave some sort of gaps open for Aston Villa attackers in your side. The likes of El Ghazi, he's actually got a decent floor and is scoring. We saw Trezeguet score a brace in Aston Villa's last game against Crystal Palace. Could this mean that his price maybe gets a little bit more inflated than it should be? Maybe so. However, you know, if he's scoring goals, if he's getting the goals, I'm all for putting him in your team. So for the defensive options for Aston Villa, the likes of Tyrone Mings, he's okay. I'd only really put him in as your sort of last filler option, as he does foul a hell of a lot of the time. We also see El Mohammadi as well. If he plays, could be a very good option. Other than that, really, Aston Villa, not the greatest in terms of defence. They do leak quite a lot of goals. I don't really like the goalkeeper of either side because I can't see both sides scoring. If you want to go for the goalkeeper, just predict which side you think is going to win, so you at least get them 5 points. In the midfield, as I've mentioned, John McGinn, a very good player for Aston Villa. Gets some shots off and has scored a couple of goals this season as well. And it can be on the set pieces, especially if Hourihane is not playing. But yeah, for this game, look for guys like Richarlison, Grealish, Hourihane, maybe Calvert-Lewin if you want to take a bit of a punt. Hopefully he may be a bit cheaper, so if he's a little bit cheaper, then we could see him be more of a viable option, because he can score, although he hasn't really been of late. So definitely someone to consider. But let's get straight into the next one. So the Leicester City versus Sheffield United. two teams that actually still have a lot to play for in this Premier League season. With only 3 games left to play, Leicester are really kind of scraping and holding on to their Champions League spot, and Sheffield United are really making a push for them Europa League places. So this result really could determine sort of which team gets into their various Europe places. That being said, taking a look at the teams, so for Leicester, set piece taking wise, we see now that James Maddison is injured. Obviously, if he does manage to recover, which I think is very unlikely before the start of this game, then we'll see him on a lot of them set piece taking. We've seen the likes of Brighton take the majority of set pieces for Leicester. We've seen also Chilwell does sometimes like to take those sort of left in swinging crosses as well. Chilwell, another good option. However, also injured recently, so he's a sort of doubt as well for the next game. So whether he'll be starting poses another question. That means we could potentially see Christian Fuchs on that left hand side, who will be a very cheap option, so definitely one to consider there. Jamie Vardy going for Leicester, been on very good goal scoring form of late, so definitely one to consider putting your team. He does love a shot, although he does have the best conversion rate in the Premier League, which also tends to mean that he takes fewer shots. So in terms of a floor for DraftKings level, Jamie Vardy's not very good in terms of his floor. We may only see him pick up sort of 4 points in a game if he doesn't score, but obviously he's the Premier League's Golden Boot scorer, or to be the Golden Boot scorer this year. So he's scoring goals. That's what we're really looking for, especially in those sort of GPP style game modes. Looking at the Sheffield United team, we see for set piece taking duty, Oliver Norwood's been taking quite a lot of their set pieces. John Fleck is actually rumoured to be coming back for this game. If we see Fleck play, he does like to take a lot of the set pieces as well. They just sort of rotate between the right and left side, so Fleck's left-footed, so he in-swings the ball with his left boot, and the same for Norwood on that left side, in-swinging the ball with his right foot. Sheffield United do have some very good options. We saw McGoldrick finally pick up his first goal, not only 1 but 2, and so if you had him in the last game, you were absolutely flying. He was only around between the 4,000 to 5,000 mark, a very, very cheap option. He was indeed. McBurney, another very good option. His goal scoring record this season has been very good. I think for me, he'll just be a very solid one on the slate. DraftKings have actually been undervaluing McBurney the whole season, even though he has been scoring. He gets a pretty decent floor as well. So McBurney, definitely one to look out for. Another one to look out for Sheffield United, Sander Berge. He's grabbed a couple of goals since he's come and does like to push into those more forward positions. Just the general defence for Sheffield United. I mean, a few weeks ago, I would have probably removed Egan from this equation. However, Egan went and scored 2 and 2, so he's now definitely got to be considered in there. But just the whole Sheffield United defence, like the Baldock, Stevens, O'Connell, Basham, especially the overlapping centre-back guys, tend to be very cheap because they're in centre-back, but they overlap, they get shots off, they get crosses in, and just their defensive stats rack up and up as well. Whether we'll see both sides keep a clean sheet here, I don't know. The goalkeepers could be alright in this one. Both goalkeepers I expect to be reasonably expensive. This is a very hard game to call indeed. I really can't call it personally. We could see Leicester go and batter Sheffield. We could see Sheffield go and batter Leicester. We could see a very, very cagey match. We could see a 1-1 and 0-0. It's very hard to predict. So what I like personally is likes of Jamie Vardy, McBurney. I think those guys you've got to put in your team. Brighton's not too bad for the crosses. I wouldn't particularly captain him. John Fleck, if he plays, very good option. Oliver Norwood, also if he plays, another very good option. Ender Stevens as well, love to pop up with an assist. I'd kind of be basing my teams around those guys, and obviously some of the cheaper players as well, especially as I mentioned, the likes of Christian Fuchs, Justin as well for Leicester, the right back. He loves to get forward as well and pop plenty of shots off. The thing I like about this slate is pretty much all the players are very viable options. It's not a slate where you've got sort of 5 or 6 players who you're just like, oh well, it'll be lucky if they get above sort of 5 points. Pretty much every single player in both of these sides could easily, on a good day, get you 10 points without any kind of attacking contribution. And I guess, as always, it's just going to be about fitting those kind of players together. But yeah, Jamie Vardy, McBurney, definitely 2 guys to look out for here. So moving on to the Crystal Palace versus Manchester United side. So set piece takers, obviously for Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes, since he's joined, has basically taken over pretty much full reign of set pieces, and he is basically confirmed captain on pretty much every single slate. If we don't, most likely we'll be seeing him sort of at 70% captain, depending on how expensive he is, I guess. Because, you know, the more expensive a player gets, I mean, we've seen him over the past few weeks be sort of an 18,000 captain, which sort of gets into the territory of, you know, punting on your captain, so getting like a Matic captain, so then you can get the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Martial. I think those kind of teams were the ones that actually did really well in the last game. Obviously, when a player like Martial goes and gets a goal and assist, having that player captain is really the way to go. But for Crystal Palace, we see the likes of Luka Milivojevic on set pieces. I like Luka Milivojevic, obviously, for his sort of, he likes a long shot, he likes to cross, but also he's conceded one of the most yellow cards this season. He has 11 yellow cards, so in almost a third, well, in a third of the games basically that he has played in, he's picked up a yellow card. And obviously that's also with the fouls conceded, so his points are very sort of up and down depending on that yellow card. We see Patrick Van Aanholt going across to take plenty of corners as well. He likes to take those sort of right-sided, left-in swinging crosses, and he has been popping up with some assists and loves to get down that left wing and take some shots off, whip them crosses in. So I think Van Aanholt, if you're going for a Crystal Palace option, definitely one to consider. For this game though, Crystal Palace have been on awful form previous to this. 5 losses in a row. Would be very much expecting Manchester United to pop up with a win here. Bit of team news for you. Apparently Manchester United are going to make a couple of rotations. I think we're kind of expecting to see Greenwood maybe take a rest and Daniel James to start. If Daniel James does start, even a potential captaincy there. We saw Daniel James being 4,300 on the last slate, and for an attacking Manchester United player who very well could score, I feel like captain Daniel James would mean you could get Rashford, Martial, Bruno Fernandes, and even David De Gea in as well, because we're likely to see Manchester United pick up a clean sheet and a win in this game. Other Crystal Palace options, you've got the likes of Jordan Ayew, who loves to take a shot as well. Although I did watch the last Crystal Palace game, and the way they kept the ball and moved forward was absolutely awful. They couldn't hold on to the ball. They literally couldn't. They had no kind of possessive game. Even when they were trying to counter-attack, they couldn't string a couple of passes together. So we can most likely see a bit of an annihilation here from Manchester United. So that could mean just as well the likes of Fred gets onto the score sheet, the likes of Matic gets onto the score sheet. Those kind of cheaper guys, even Wan-Bissaka picking up some assists, even Harry Maguire could go and grab a goal. I think these kind of guys, captaining one of those guys will allow you to get the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Martial and Rashford into the team. And obviously Daniel James as well if he does start. But yeah, I think this one's a pretty simple slate. Just try and get as many Manchester United attackers into your team as you can. Not really expecting too much of an upset in this game. But if we do see Crystal Palace go and do anything, maybe creating a Crystal Palace team. But I'd maybe going for, like, say, a Bruno Fernandes captain, because he'll still tick up extremely well. But then lob in players like Jordan Ayew, Patrick Van Aanholt, just as a bit of a differential, because sometimes in especially the GPP tournaments, we see these kind of obscure teams being the ones that win all the games. So moving on to the final game, and that's the Southampton versus Brighton game. This game I'm very much expecting Southampton to win. They've been on incredible form of late, and the likes of Danny Ings, James Ward-Prowse, even Armstrong, very, very good options. In terms of set piece takers, we've got the likes of Ward-Prowse for Southampton, basically full reign of all of their set pieces, and the likes of Gross for Brighton. Gross is a very good option, tends to tick up to at least 10 points per game. A couple of other Brighton options, we've got the likes of Maupay, quite expensive striker, but has been banging in the goals this season, so definitely one to consider as well. Has a decent floor when he plays the full 90 as well. The likes of Leandro Trossard as well, we've seen him grab a couple of goals. He actually scored against Liverpool the other week, So definitely one to consider. However, he doesn't really, if he plays, he'll get maybe 60 minutes or come off the bench for 30 minutes. Obviously, you're not going to pick him if he does start on the bench. But yeah, if he does start, probably only get 60, 70 minutes in that game. The likes of Lamptey as well, playing right back for Brighton, managed to pick up an assist against Liverpool as well. A player that I very much do like. Good defensive stats, gets down that wing, tends to be quite cheap around that 4,000 mark. So he's kind of that filler player kind of price, but a very good option indeed. Aaron Moy as well, he's been sort of one of my favourites throughout the season, especially when I'm playing on them kind of classic slates. He tends to be really cheap around that 5,000 mark, and he's really the main kind of playmaker, apart from obviously Gross for Brighton. Just everything seems to go through him. We do, however, unluckily see he tends to get that sort of pass to assist, which is a bit unfortunate because obviously he doesn't get all 6 points or like 7.5 because you get the shot assisted as well. But other than that, I think Aaron Moy loves to get a shot. We have seen him pick up a couple of goals as well. Looking at the Southampton team, I think the likes of Ings, Armstrong, Ward-Prowse got to be in this team. Very tempted to captain Armstrong. Tends to be a little bit cheaper than the other two guys and loves to bag shots on targets and has been grabbing goals as well. The likes of Redmond, the likes of Bertrand, especially in this game, in a kind of smaller games, as you put it, where they're not really playing a bigger team, the likes of Redmond and Bertrand are really allowed more sort of expressive freedom going forward. And we see especially Bertrand, because he plays left back against Manchester United, he didn't get forward as much as he normally would against a team like Brighton. And if you have a look at Bertrand's game log, he basically posts sort of 10 points per game. So Bertrand, one I very much do like. And other than that, really, you've got the sort of centre-backs for Brighton and centre-backs for Southampton. Not really too much consideration unless you think one's going to pop up with a goal. I'd sort of steer clear of those guys. Goalkeepers, I think Alex McCarthy is a very good option for Southampton. We've seen him been picking up loads and loads of saves of late, and we've also seen Southampton picking up some very good results. So we could likely see McCarthy here pick up a win and potentially even a clean sheet and a win as well, plus some sort of 3 or 4 saves. He could be a sort of 18 to 20 point player quite comfortably in this game against Brighton. But yeah, definitely one to consider. I'd lean definitely a lot more heavily towards Southampton in this game, even potentially a Danny Ings captain, as he could easily go and pop up. But other than that, I do like the Ward-Prowse or definitely an Armstrong captain, because I feel like an Armstrong captain could potentially allow you to get the likes of Ward-Prowse, Ings and Gross into the same team. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you soon.